Hello, I'm Corey Hello, and welcome to another episode of Critimation, where I review animated TV shows and films. As always, I do not own any of these films or shows. They are property of their respected owners. For today's episode, we will be looking at the character Julia from the Animaniacs reboot. The first episode was entitled The Mousechurian Candidate. Here, Brain plans to run for president, but needs a first lady. So he genetically alters Julia's DNA to make her more anthropomorphic, and then makes her his wife. But as Brain runs for senator, Julia appears to have more appeal and becomes the winner. Brain then gets the idea to use this to his advantage by acting as a puppet master and writes Julia's speech so that she would be able to do what he wants to do for the country. But as Julia skims through it, she catches on and rips up the speech. Before the presidential debate takes place, Brain reveals he put a mind control chip in her ear, allowing her to take over her mind and say what he wants to say. But as she tries to fight back during the debate, the chip catches on fire and she runs off. It is then revealed at the end of the segment that she survived and now has a secret base where she monitors Peaky and the Brain, seeking revenge against Brain. Julia was voiced by Maria Bramford, whose other credits include Cat Dog, American Dad, and many others. And while I haven't seen most of her other work, I consider this a great character for her to voice, because she portrays a modern yet independent wife that we typically see in sitcoms of today. And I had really high hopes that she would make a further appearance as she would eventually do in the following season, considering how the reboot cut out most of the female characters from the original Animaniacs. Her second appearance would be Reichenbrain Falls. The segment opens with Brain waking up in outer space, and Peaky explains that they had posed as teachers in order to trick the students into building a model rocket to fly them up to the NASA space station. There, they would turn off all of Earth's power. But after seeing Peaky obsessed over the code to turn the computer on, Brain does the "are you pondering what I'm pondering" gag, resulting in Peaky actually breaking out of character, thereby showing that he's an imposter. He then finds out that they were never in space and it was all a ruse. The fake Peaky then takes off his mask and reveals to be none other than Julia, who, aside from getting shocks from the damaged earpiece, has become obsessed with wanting to best Brain and taking over the world. She reveals that she had infiltrated the school by using a robot kid, and then took Peaky hostage while she made a paper mache of his head to complete her disguise. Before Julia could exact her revenge on Brain by dipping him in cheese fondue, Peaky uses the robot to save him. Julia, however, managed to escape on the rocket, which then blows up due to a fault. Julia, however, survives and is able to make her getaway by riding a small bird. While I am disappointed that she basically just became a rival for Brain, I did like how they were able to differentiate her from Snowball from the original Peaky and the Brain spin-off series. Not only is she a femme fatale type character, but it's implied that Peaky and Julia still have feelings for each other, kind of giving them a Batman and Catwoman type relationship. And it makes me wonder what could have been had they actually stayed a couple, as we will see in the next segment. Our last episode is entitled All's Fair in Love and Door. While Brain is out running an errand to complete his next scheme to take over the world, Pinky finds it difficult not to open the green door that Brain had shown him, and gets anxious trying to resist the urge to open it, resulting in a very clever Lord of the Rings Golem reference. Of course, Pinky opens the door and then finds himself in a room where apparently Julia and Brain had married. He is then knocked out by Julia. When Brain returns, he has to go through the door and tell Julia that Pinky is just a co-worker. The two then speak in private. Well, Brain reveals to Pinky that it's just a virtual reality seminar, and that the Julia Pinky saw is not the real Julia, but part of the seminar itself. The fake Julia overhears this, though, and becomes more self-aware of her surroundings, and at dinner, overrides the VR system and takes over. After the boys are kicked out, she merges with all the devices in the lab. But before she could kill the Brain tells Pinky not to smash the Pinky Bake that Julia has merged with, which of course Pinky does, thereby disconnecting her from everything. After disposing of what remains of her, the real Julia finds the computer that contains the virtual Julia and makes big plans for them to take over the world. While the concept of a virtual reality is pretty modern, even for Pinky and the Brain, I did like how it put a unique spin on several aspects of a what-if scenario. And when Julia becomes self-aware, her glitch kind of resembles the shock that her real counterpart experienced in the second episode. And while yes, I am disappointed that we did not get to see more of her, I would think that the team had more plans for Julia had the series continued beyond the 3 seasons that they did for the reboot. I would imagine that Julia would have used the VR technology to her advantage to get revenge on the Brain. And while the Animaniacs reboot is not the best reboot I've seen, it's definitely better than most reboots, considering how Pinky and the Brain still holds up even to this day. And I would recommend these episodes because Julia is the best thing to come out of the reboot. Thanks for tuning in to Critimation. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and follow me on Twitter, or support me on Patreon. I'm open to suggestions, and I will see you next time.